going wayward. And that there is the need for us to come together as one people and say, come on, we cannot allow this downward trend to continue. Because economically, I don't know if there is anything worthy of this thing that any Ghanaian can speak to and say, hey, I am proud of my country. Youth unemployment is an issue of political corruption, a whole lot of issues at the table of government that we need some kind of leadership. But what we are lacking, so far as from where I'm sitting, is leadership. So if we've been talking about state asset not performing and that there is the need for it to go, I will sit here and make an argument that the presidency is not performing. Can we sell the president? That is not an option to take. You see, there is always the need to infuse certain efficiency.
As for that one, we cancel.
Exactly, that is the point. Because if you go out there and talk to Ghanaians, if there is something, if there is any state asset or maybe state anything that is not performing, that has to be offloaded. People obviously will tell you it's the presidency. Because President Akufo-Addo, over the years, to me, his performance has been nothing but a disaster. You see, but we are still entertaining, and there are several other state enterprises.
Down to 6. Yes. And of course, not all 6 were given the opportunity, but from 6, then they got to 1. And that's how Rock City got the nod based on ABC factors. But it is now turning out that from the work of the transactional advisors, which is Sam Capital, clearly Rock City were, I want to choose my words carefully. I haven't been to court before.
Yes. That is why I said there was certain overreaching executive arm that was pushing down their throat to have this thing go through.
Do you think that if this had nothing to do with Rock City and a politician, we would have been making all of these noises?
Definitely. Looking at the various documents that are out there, definitely. But you see, I understand conflict of interest do not bear criminal liabilities unless you extend it a bit further to engage in fraud and corruption and other stuff. But you see, this is a moral and ethical principle that in governance you need to adhere to. Because, you see, governance is operated in a certain framework that thrives on the kind of trust and confidence people repose in that particular establishment.
Sure.
Once the trust is gone, trust me, there will be insecurity. So you must always work in a certain framework that will always sustain that particular trust and confidence people have. But for a cabinet minister who sits at cabinet and is privy to every single detail around this particular transaction or in this particular hotels, and he is given the option to bid, it doesn't make sense. In modern governance, some of these practices do not have space. You see, these things belong to antiquity. They don't belong to these modern times. And that is why I'm saying that the president ought to have intervened, because the guy was privy to other salient information or sensitive document which other bidders obviously wouldn't have option to because of his privileged position, and allowing him to bid in the first place didn't speak well of the whole transaction. And again, can we always sit here and say if state enterprises are not performing, we have to offload them? I say no, because there are several other state enterprises that are not performing.
So we should continue to make them make losses?
We need to review, we need to look at other options.
Like?
You see, there are several other strategic investment options available.
Like
for instance, I told you, sir, aside putting our 60% stake for sale, we could have gone for 40%. In that particular instance, you can see that somebody is bringing money. And that capital infusion, that intention of getting money to be infused, becomes a viable option, because you still control
the 40% infusion. Maybe I'm choosing my words advisably. Yes. Maybe the 40% infusion, the management of SSNIT at that point felt maybe if they went in for less, may not be enough to revamp these organizations. But
it will be enough to lose the whole thing. It will be enough to lose it to somebody and become a minority shareholder in somebody's business.
Well, maybe they thought they didn't want it to be an albatross over their neck, so let it go.
Yeah, and we can't do that. Because, like I said, as we sit here, in this country, there are a lot of state-owned enterprises that are not doing well. Look at Cocoa Board. Go and read their annual report. Cocoa Board is a debt factory. And there are several other state enterprises that are not doing well.
CEO Edu would disagree with you. He says they are doing very well.
No. But the reports are out there. They are in debt. This is a company that has been in operation for for so many years, and every year they have to go and borrow money to come and buy cocoa beans. Does it sound like it is doing well?
Ivan, at this point, we know the development since Friday. Obviously, SSNIT is not going ahead with the sale anymore.
Yes.
Rock City have withdrawn their interest.
Yes.
Life goes on.
No, it shouldn't end there. I shouldn't end there. I think all the board members of SSNIT should resign. Because you see,
including the ones Labour themselves put there,
everybody should be resigned. The president should just sack everybody. Because you see, if you look at the renewed energy with which, the passion with which, especially the board chair, was out there on social media in a desperate attempt to have this thing go through, and after reviewing all these documents and realizing that the agenda that she was pushing was tainted with a whole lot of infractions, I think you lose
credibility,
your clout, everything. So some of these enterprises must always thrive on trust. You understand that? So I think everybody should resign. It's unfortunate we live in an arena where people will not let go even when they are dying. In recent times in UK, we've seen a lot of people at a higher pinnacle of power. The Prime Minister, we've seen a number of them resigning based on flimsy excuses and flimsy reasons. But here, people engage themselves in such massive embarrassment. This is, I call it, a shit show. But she will not resign. You understand? So somebody need to call them to sit, so to get out from the room, so that the public will get confidence and trust in these people. Because if we continue to go on this particular tangent, trust me, there is no way out.
Okay, that will be up to the president to decide at this point. So I wouldn't want to go there.
I do appreciate that you can pay a company to advise you on something. The advice may not be binding, because once it is advice, it may not be binding. Yeah. Even though you've
just like a white paper might be issued by a commission and government would say, no, we're not going with that.
But if you want to set aside that advice, you want to circumvent whatever,
then there's a superior advice somewhere.
There must be a compelling reason that will justify why you are jettisoning the original report and going the other way. Because, like I said, this is not a private entity. You are dealing with the public, and that interaction must always be there. Again, I think SSNIT has other investment portfolios going forward. We need to assess them to see the economic viability, because with this recklessness,
only God knows what they are doing elsewhere that we don't even know about.
With this recklessness, only God knows what is going on the other side. So as labor union and other organizations, they must take vested interest in whatever that is going on in other investment portfolios of SSNIT. And then we come into a consensus that going forward, if there is the need for us to inject a certain efficiency, then we know what to do. Because you see, those who talk about politics, you see, we cannot disengage politics from this particular thing, because once it is state business, it is politics from the word go. But it is about how we are able to get the best of minds, to be able, technical advice, whatever, to be able to ensure it becomes profitable. Everything around it is politics, because those at the top got there because of their political connections and affiliations. Like he said, somebody was poached. Do you think he was poached based on merit? Because there are other people who have similar and equal qualifications who could have even done a better job. Because for somebody to be poached, to be supervising such a public embarrassment, then it raises a lot of questions. So I think going forward, we cannot leave such an enterprises to the discretion of few people acting in the name of temporary board members, and they hold everybody to ransom. We cannot. We need to take vested interest, look at other viable options. We can find a way to infuse certain ingenuity, certain technical kind of way into the operation, so that we know SSNIT investments are viable, so that the average and the ordinary Ghanaian worker likely to go on retirement few years ago, there are still some out there.
Few years to come, you mean?
Yes, go and look at the amount of money some of them are getting. Some are getting as low as 300 Ghana cedis a month. Look at somebody at the age of 60. I've been at the hospital. I work at the hospital, and you see a lot of people who come at that age. You have a lot of issues. Old age has its own problems: senile dementia, diabetes, hypertension, and you are always on medication. You need a lot of financial muscle to be able to pull through. And recently, those who even did investment, look at what government has done to them. He said, postpone your investment for ahead.
20 something.
So somebody who is 70 years, if you're asking me to postpone my investment, you've handed the person.
By the time the returns will come, the person is gone.
It's a death insurance.
Easy, let me give you the last word on this and we'll wrap up.
Really, I just want to say that it's about time that we began to look